Hi, I'm Teresa, and today we'll be going through a very gentle practice ideal for a 20-minute window you have in your day. So coming to find a comfortable seated position. Okay. Remember, you can do easy pose, half lotus, even normal cross legs. Just adjusting, be comfortable on the weight, keeping it even on both sit bones. We're going to bring the palms to rest facing down onto the knees. Just finding that length through the spine. Imagine there's a string from your plumb line pulling the crown of the head higher up towards the ceiling, and you're maintaining that sensation that the chin is tucking back towards the throat. You're welcome to close the eyes, soften the gaze, just really beginning to bring a little bit more awareness to the breath pattern, starting to check in with what's really going on both a physical and mental level. So remember, for your Ujjayi breath, the practice is to breathe both in and out through the nose, drawing the breath to the back of the throat and releasing from the back of the throat, creating that gentle, soft little sound. Ocean's breath, victorious breath. So when you're following exhale, you're going to gently start to turn the chin to the right hand side. Inhale, coming back to neutral. Exhale over to the left hand side. Inhale to come back, one more to each side. So now from your neutral trend, we're going to exhale, drop that ear over directly towards the shoulder. Inhale, coming back up to neutral, exhale over to the other side. As you drop the ear to the shoulder, try and also create a little bit more resistance in that opposite shoulder. You'll feel the strengthening of that release. Inhale to come up, one more to each side. Inhale up, exhale to lower. Good. We're going to take the foot that's behind to the front, okay, just so we don't ever get used to encouraging asymmetry or following what's most comfortable. Placing the fingertips on the shoulders, we're going to inhale, bring the elbows to touch. If you can, get the backs of the hands to brush against the ears. So again, inhale, lifting up, exhale as the arms start to move behind the body. Good. Let's do 3 more in this direction. Taking it in the opposite way, still all those little cues, back of the hands brushing to the ears, elbows to touch in front if your range of motion can allow. And remember, the more we move, the more we mobilize, so try not to force anything too soon in the body, allowing it to release without too much force too soon. 2 more. Last one. Well done. Releasing the arms down, we're going to tiptoe those fingers as far over towards the opposite side as you can, dropping that left hip down. We're going to reach the arm overhead. So really creating that push down from the hip and then lengthening from the top fingertips. Gently release. Again, walking the hands as far away from the body as you can, pushing down through that opposite hip joint, reaching the arm overhead. Good. Good. 1 more to each side. Again, some of you might be able to drop down onto the forearm. You're welcome to do that, but make sure you're creating that push back into the mat and you're not compromising by lifting the hip away from the floor just yet. Good. Reaching up. Walking the hands again. If you were able to go on the forearm on the opposite side, do so again on this side. Otherwise, you stick to staying on the fingertips. Okay. The focus is to release on the outside of the hip. As I said, the more we move, the more we mobilize, so don't force anything too soon. Inhale to press up. Taking the hands behind the body, interlacing the fingers. Strong inhale, open up, broaden across the collarbones. And as you come to exhale, folding forward, chin is tucking back to the throat, and we're directing the forehead towards the floor and lifting the arms up overhead. On your next inhalation, strong press up through the body, releasing the arms. It might feel good to get a few little shoulder rolls here. You're welcome to do that. Good. Releasing the legs, straighten them out, giving them a little bit of a shake. You can circle into the ankles, just make sure you change direction. A few windscreen wipes. Okay, we want the blood flow back down, right to the toes. Straighten the spine, relaxing the shoulders. We're going to interlace the hands to the back of the leg. Flexing into the toes on the left foot. We're going to inhale, straighten up, lift down, and soft touch down. Good. Lengthening up, lowering down. 4 more on this leg. Last one. And release. Good. Come to lift that foot as high up as you can into the groin area, being mindful that the toes are staying in neutral. Hand underneath the knee and left hand to left foot. We're going to inhale, lift up, give a little bit of support from the hand, and then exhale to lower back down. Inhale to lift up, and exhale to lower back down. Good. 4 more. Many of these movements coming from the Pawanamuktasana series in Hatha. Good. It's a mouthful, like many a Sanskrit phrase. Last one, and releasing down. Good. Gently lifting the leg up, making sure the knee is tracking straight, and then giving a little bit of a release. Opposite side, again, hands are comfortably locked in, shoulders are relaxed, straightening up from the knee, lowering back down. Good. And again, lowering down. 4 more. And if you're not quite the same timing as me, don't worry about it. Just make sure that however many you do on the one side, you're definitely doing the same to the opposite side. Good. Again, lifting up, tucking that foot nice and high, cupping underneath the toes. Left hand under the knee. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, a little bit of pressure. Okay, opening into the hip joint, half butterfly. Good. We're doing 4 here. Last one. Again, lifting up, we're making sure the knee is tracking straight and giving it a little bit of a release. Coming into a very gentle twist, keep it about 80% active in the feet. Come to place hands on either side of the spine. Again, like what we were doing seated, we want to make sure that opposite hip is staying, pushing back, creating a little bit of an interesting asymmetric movement in the body. Palms on the outside of the hips. As best you can, you're going to fold into the elbows, so not wide out, folding back, working a little bit more tricep engagement, pushing down through that opposite hip. And again, the intention here is to work to get the nose as close to the mat as possible. My chin is, as always, tucking back to the throat. Inhale, pressing up to release, taking the hands over to the other side. Same thing, watch that one hand isn't super far in front of the other. I'm pushing my opposite hip back into the mat, and I'm twisting and folding. Inhale, gently pressing up, bringing the soles of the feet to touch, full butterfly this time. I'm relaxed in the upper body and gently little pulsing up and down through the hips and the knees. Let's do 4 more. Lifting the knees up, crossing over the ankles. You're going to make your way into your tabletop position. Allow for that gap at the knees, palms stacked underneath the shoulders, coming into your cat stretch. We'll inhale from here, looking up towards the ceiling. Exhale, rounding through, drawing the belly button away from the floor. Chin comes back to the throat. And again, inhale, Changing the shape of the spine between that arch and that curl. 3 more rounds. Try it with your eyes closed. Sometimes that makes you connect just a little bit more to those subtle changes between the vertebrae. Last one. Knees are coming nice and wide, big toes are touching, walking the palms forward and softening the forehead to the mat for your Balasana Child's Pose. Inhale, shifting forward, coming back into your tabletop shape. We're going to gently start to circle into that right hip. So making sure you're not collapsing into the left side. 3 before changing direction. We're going to step the foot up between the hands. Always making sure that heel is lining up underneath the knee, bringing both hands up and forward. And we're gently going to start to press forward the weight to the top of the mat. Shifting back, bringing the hands to the floor. You're also welcome to place the blocks underneath. Keeping the foot flat. We're going to straighten as much as you can. Feel the stretch on the top of the foot, a little bit into the calf. And then again, pressing forward. Hands are coming back up onto the knees. Shifting the weight to the top of the mat. Good. Feel that nice release into the hip flexor grip on the opposite leg. Lowering the hands down, we're going to start to walk the fingertips back, flexing into the foot, straightening into the spine. Remember, blocks can also be a really nice support here, and some of you might even be able to sit all the way back down onto the heel. 2 more breaths. Inhale to press up. Good. Stepping that right leg all the way back. Big toes are touching, knees are nice and wide. This time we're pressing into the fingertips, sitting back into your extended child's pose. Inhale to come up, making your way into that tabletop shape. Same sequence to the left, so creating those circles. Imagine the knee is a pencil, drawing a circle, changing direction. Stepping the left foot up between the hands. Remember, checking heel underneath the knee, hands coming up and gently shifting the weight to the top of the mat. Checking in that you're straight into that back foot. Some of you might be more comfortable toes tucked under. That's absolutely fine. The toes are tucked under, releasing them down. Remember, hands on either side. First one, we're keeping the foot nice and flat. Relaxing into the shoulders, gripping a little bit with the toes, and you should feel interesting release on the top of the foot. Good. Bending into that knee. Again, bringing the hands to the top, shifting the weight forward. Feel that nice release into the opposite hip flexor group. Hands come down to the mat or to your blocks. Gently start to walk back, supported by the hands, straight in the spine, open in the shoulders. Foot stays flexed. Remember, some of you might be able to drop down, sitting onto the heel, going all the way down. Again, as long as we're relaxed in the shoulders and not holding any unnecessary tension in the body. Gently release, shifting the weight back and up. We're going to step back, coming into that tabletop position. Always palms underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. We're tucking the toes under. And we're going to inhale, press the weight evenly through the palms, hovering the knees just off of the mat, sucking the belly button to the spine. We have for 3, 2, 1. Relaxing down. Good. We're going to do that 2 more times. Inhale, pressing up. The darker the shadow to your mat, the closer your knees, and that's what we're working for. 3, 2, 1. Good. Take a full breath. Side out. Inhale to prepare for your last round. Inhale, hovering up. Little bit longer. 3, 2, 1. And release down. Good job. Knees are wide, big toes are touching. Walking the hands forward. Palms can be flat or pressing into the fingertips again. Inhale, gently coming up. Just walking yourself forward. You're going to roll over the ankles, coming to the top of the mat. For a moment, wrapping the forearms over the shins, dropping the forehead down, rounding into the upper back. Just gently release. Hands to your side, nice and slowly. Think of lowering one vertebra down into the mat at a time, until you're fully settled flat to the floor. Walking the heels up as close to the middle fingers behind you as you can. We're going to come to make your figure 4 shape, crossing the right leg over the left, hand onto the knee, giving yourself a little bit of extra pressure. And then lifting up, threading the hands either onto the hamstrings or over the shins. Again, nice adjustment so the shoulders stay relaxed. Remember here we want to think of having the right knee moving away from the body and the left knee closer to the shoulder. Exhale, lowering down. Allow the foot to fall naturally over towards the left side, rolling onto that right foot, left hand onto the knee, and that right arm is extending either out in line with the shoulders or slight little bend at the elbow like I have for your cactus arm variation. And if it feels good, you can turn that chin to look over, away from the legs. Bringing the chin back to neutral. Inhale, lifting the legs up. I like to give that knee a little release, hanging up to the shoulder, lowering down, checking in again, finding the middle fingers to the base of the heels. Left leg is crossing over, a little bit of pressure opening into the hip, threading through, finding the same hand variation you worked on the other leg. Notice my feet are flexed, still active, and then that sense of pushing the left knee away from the body and drawing the right knee slightly closer up towards the shoulder. Feeling the release primarily into that left glute. Just gently release, lowering down. I'm going to have to shuffle a little bit to the side. Let the knees drop over to the right hand side this time. Good. Right hand finds the left knee, left arm extending out or making your cactus arm. Nice deep, slow breaths here. Inhale, bring that chin to neutral, gently lifting up through the legs, hugging the left knee up to the shoulder if that felt good on the other side. And then gently releasing, straightening the legs down. Palms are facing upwards, close to the body but not touching. Any movements, a few releases into the ankles, into the shoulders, into the neck before settling into your Shavasana. Staying here for 10, 11 deep slow breaths if you have a little bit more time, holding out, and when you're ready you'll come to bend into the knees, rolling onto your side. Even pause here for a few breaths, slowly supporting the spine, making your way back up into your seated position. Namaste.